see, for me, I know I've said it on this show, Pochettino got it wrong from the onset. You don't go into a club and start to sign, like Nicholas mentioned, bunch of players without even starting a job. He hadn't even resumed, and he was starting signing of players. For me, I believe a new coach should come into a team, have sessions with, and luckily for him, he came in before the beginning of the transfer window, so he had time to look at the players that he had.
That okay, let me not say it. Already done the record.
Oh, say what you have to say, bro. Yeah, the game on Saturday. The game on Saturday was interesting. We lost. I think it was 7-3 or 7-4 or 7-5.
The sun was much now, no, right?
No, it was raining. No, it showered on us.
It rained.
No, that was Monday. Not
Monday. Yeah, Saturday was good. Saturday was good. It was a good game. Both 2 days, I enjoyed myself.
Yes, really good workout. Monday was really good because of that rain.
Was it much or just a little shower? Because I've been wanting this rain to fall, but
no, it was heavy, man, but not for too long.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Then in it, Arsenal, how was your weekend? Let's get on with this one. We're here again. Hello, guys. Back again on Transit TV. We're here to review, as usual, the games over the weekend. The EPL is gradually getting very, very interesting. Games are coming thick and fast, though this weekend is going to be, I know, boring for us, religious followers of the EPL in Europe, of the football in Europe. It's going to be international break. But last weekend, like we envisaged, it was very exciting, intriguing games. Sorry. We saw, this season, we've been seeing a lot of goals in EPL. You hardly watch a game in English League now that, ends in a 0-0 draw. There are goals. Goals are coming in loads. Teams are showing little or no respect to each other, while some also are surprisingly adopting pragmatic approach to their game, trying to soak pressure and hit others on a counter. So it was a very intriguing weekend. Some expected and unexpected results. We're here to do justice to it this week. Today, I'm here with as usual, my partner in crime, Ugum Chuma, is here holding sway for the Chelsea fans. I know he knows it's going to be a rough ride for him tonight, but I trust him to hold his own and stand, as he usually says, in the lion's den. So we're here, guys. Stay with us. Like I always say, if you have not subscribed, don't get carried away with the excitement of the show. Go ahead right now before you get soaked into it and subscribe if you have not. We observe that about 60% of people who enjoy our shows are not subscribed yet. That means you guys are enjoying it and forgetting to subscribe. Please go ahead and hit the subscription button right now. Like and share and get busy, as we always tell you in the comment section. I know it's not everything we say here that you agree with, but let's know what your own view on them and let's know what you think about the show. Get busy, guys. Let's go. Ugum, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Reggie. It's my pleasure to be here again on Transit TV to discuss what's going on in the world of soccer, world of football. A pleasure to be here with Chima as well. It's a beautiful thing to discuss this game that we call the beautiful game. There's so much going on in Europe, so much going on in other parts of the world, MLS, even in Africa. Now the fixtures for the Club World Cup have just been released, as well as the Champions League. So yeah, it's getting heated. We've only had 4 weeks of the EPL season, and it feels like, we're mid-season already because everybody's ramping up and the games are getting more and more interesting. And, right after this international break, they're going to have a deluge of games in both Europe and the local scene. So we're looking forward to it. Welcome everyone to the show.
Yeah, Chima. Let's
Yeah,
let's go. I know you're on the downside, but bro, let's go.
welcome viewers. This is Chima again. That diehard Chelsea fan, I always tell people that whenever I'm in this side of the aisle, I feel like I'm tag teamed. But be that as it may, we want people to enjoy this round leather game that we play. One of the things about me in soccer is, at the end of the day, I still embrace my detractors. So viewers, let us get busy. Get to the comment section and tell us how you feel about what we're doing, and share your own opinions also. Welcome.
Yeah, guys. Good to have you all. And that reminds me, we're trying to get other fans on the show: Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool. Most of the guys that we have, it's been difficult to get them on the show at the right time. So you reach out to us as well if you want to represent any of the clubs, because it seems we have more of Arsenal fans available on the show. If you're a Chelsea fan, if you're a Liverpool fan, if you're a Man United fan, Man City fan, and you're a regular watcher of the show, please reach out to us, and we'll work out a way to have you on the show to give us your own perspective, because football, this game is a game of perspective. There are so many ways to view the games. There are more correct views than others, but everybody's allowed to say their opinion. So if you will want to be on the show, let us know as well, and we'll have you. So this week we're going to quickly run through the results, look at a few games, and the key games for the weekend. We're really going to look at previewing today will be Liverpool at home to Villa, Chelsea at home to Nottingham Forest. Then the game of the weekend, of course, is Arsenal hosting Manchester United. We all know how that game panned out. So let me run through. Before we go ahead, let's welcome Nicholas to the show. The debutant is an Arsenal fan as well. I was with him on Sunday at the game at an Arsenal viewing center on the Heights in Houston, Texas. Here. And it was really nice meeting you, bro. He was so lively and emotional. He said, "Emotion. This is the game of emotion. I need more emotion." This is the emotion guy. Welcome to the show, guy. Any words for our viewers before we go ahead? We're about to start. You're on mute.
Yeah, evening everyone. As Reggie mentioned, I'm new to the chat, Arsenal fan myself. Looking forward to hear everyone's opinions on football. I know we're all from overseas, so football is big in our culture. So I'm ready to participate and give my insight on the football as well. So nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nicholas is a Jamaican. I was talking with him about Leon Bailey and the Jamaican players in the EPL. So he's here too, repping the color. You can see his favorite Arsenal color is the carnival carnival gear for the Arsenal used to support the Jamaican population in England. So welcome to the show, bro. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Richard. Welcome. I'm Chima, diehard Chelsea fan.
Yeah, and the Gumi is right there.
Hey, you're welcome, Richard. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through the results for the weekend. Then we look at a few of them before we move to the key games for the weekend. Luton Town at home to West Ham, they lost 2-1. Sheffield United had a 2-2 draw with Everton at home. Brentford at home 2-2 to Bournemouth. Burnley lost 2-5 against Spurs. Chelsea lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. City beat Fulham 5-1. Brighton, another surprise game of the weekend, beat Newcastle 3-1 at home. And Liverpool beat Aston Villa 3-0. Arsenal, of course, we know the game of the weekend was victorious against United 3-1 at the Emirates. So, let me ask you, one of the games, you remember we talked about Burnley this season. company seems to want to play football the way fans would enjoy it. I remember mentioning here that I don't think that's a good way to go, because we have seen teams come to EPL try to go toe to toe with established teams in the English Premier League, and they find themselves going back to the Championship. So far, they are winless in all their games, and I believe one of the reasons is because he has not been pragmatic in the approach, the way he has approached these games, because he's trying to go toe to toe with established teams in the English Premier League. What's your thought? What's your take on Burnley?
Yeah, it's the EPL is definitely miles ahead and very a lot different from the Championship. That is what teams don't quite realize. One thing that Burnley have done well so far is not to use all the money that they earned from coming up to the EPL to just go into the market and buy everybody. Teams have made that mistake in the past. Teams like Fulham, even Nottingham Forest, we just go buy a lot of players, and then before you know what's going on, you lose the guys that helped you get to the EPL in the first place, and the club just loses its identity. So I think they've avoided that largely. But the only problem now is that, like you mentioned rightly, company wants to play expansive possession-based football. Um, in the championship, that may have worked against inferior teams, but when you get to the EPL, teams game plan for you. And if you're not really good at possession football, you might want to be pragmatic enough to protect your goal first and make sure you don't concede a lot of goals. Then you can consolidate and play the right kind of football, or the kind of football that you want. So yes, they don't have the tools, they don't have the materials, the players to hold on to possession and dominate games. And so they will be better served to be more pragmatic in their approach and kind of be a bit more defensive, make sure they plug all the holes in their team. And then they can use counter attacks and maybe even small, short phases of possession football to try and win games. So I agree with you. He needs to be a bit more pragmatic, or maybe at this point, he can't even go into the market because the window is closed. He just needs to show up his side and let them be a bit more defensive and protect their goal, make it difficult for teams to score against them.
Yeah, I hear you. And to be fair to them, they've been good at keeping possession, like we said. One of the reasons what has really failed them is the ability to convert chances and be a little bit more precise in their attacks. So, and I think one of the then that now, of course, going forward in that way, exposing them at the back. So, like you rightly said, I think the company from the one I've mentioned it here that he needs to probably rethink his approach to these games, and it's better to go home with a point than to drop 3 points and sinking yourself more and more into relegation. But already they are winless in all their games so far, and that's a very dangerous way to start the season in EPL. We all know that. Nicholas, let me touch base with you. I know as a typical Arsenal fan, sorry, you have a subconscious interest in sports, because we always looking above our shoulders against each other. In the last 2-3 seasons, Spurs has been a very boring team to watch. They came from Mourinho to Nuno Espirito Santo and Conte. It became a team that nobody wants to watch, but somehow they were managing to stay afloat, at the top end of the league. But this season they have gone to have a change in the manager. Somebody said that's the only good thing that Olivier has done in almost a decade in sports, signing this new manager who has brought exciting football to the London stadium, to the stadium, and the fans it looks like they are on the way up. They are among the teams now with 10 points, 2 points behind City in the league. What have you made about? What do you think about the way Spurs is playing now? What do you think? What's your expectation going as the season progresses for them?
It's an excellent question. I think Spurs, as you've mentioned, they've had rotation of managers where they had Mourinho for a while. They had Pochettino. They had a few managers in and out. And I think the Harry Kane contract issue was because Harry Kane he's essentially a Spurs legend, and he's been doing it for years. He's consistently scoring. I think the sale of Harry Kane to Bayern Munich may have been a positive thing for Spurs in terms of now they can have more of a team-based effort where they're not necessarily going into that one target man and always depending on him. They have a broad set of players they can depend on. The manager, he's bringing fresh ideas in. And sometimes it's good when you have a new manager because if you have a player that may be on the fringes with a certain manager, maybe this manager may give you a chance. Also the guy, the Brazilian, I think the Brazilian right back guy. I don't recall his name. He got a red card versus Arsenal last season at the Emirates. He's
yeah, I can remember the guy.
Yeah, he's looking good, son. He's captain now. He's looking decent. They brought in a few players. Even the guy that came from Brighton that was playing center defensive mid, he was on the bench last year, not doing anything. Now he's starting. He looks fresh. So
The summer.
Spurs look good so far, but yeah, that guy. Yeah, Spurs look good so far, but the season is long, so you may start off good, but I think within 15, 18 games, teams will be showing who they really are. So it's only a matter of time to see who they really are. I know we play them in the next few weeks, so that should be a good game. But Spurs, yeah, we have to really keep our eye on Spurs, but we shall see.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, exactly. Because of course we know, as popularly says, Spurs always does the Spurs stuff. So far they're looking very good, looking exciting to watch, attacking football, scoring a lot of goals, picking the points. 3 wins from 4 games and a draw. So they're looking good, like you rightly said. Chima, last week, Brighton lost surprisingly to West Ham. And I remember mentioning that with all the excitement going around Brighton right now, I'm still not sure their ability to break down teams who play with low blocks. And that showed in their game against West Ham. They lost comprehensively. I think it was 3-1 that game. But this weekend, they came up against Newcastle. And we were all skeptical about how they were going to perform in that game. We all know that they have what it takes to play the ball the way it's supposed to be played and have a certain approach to games. But Newcastle, a team that we don't really know, that most of the time when they play big games, they play with low blocks. So I was a little bit skeptical how Brighton was going to navigate through this game. But surprisingly, they tore Newcastle apart and won that game 3-1. Did you watch the game? What was the thought about how that game panned out?
Well, the last time when we were dishing out our opinions about what the scorelines are going to be between Brighton and Newcastle, we all ticked Newcastle to win the match. But one thing that I mentioned was that the game or that match is gonna be a lot of goals. Because I understand. When you watch Brighton, you know that they have this flair. They play very beautiful football, and they have ability to score goals. They might concede, but just be rest assured that Brighton is going to score. Scoring is an easy thing for them. It's like, they are very good in the attack. Going forward, they can concede, but they can also score. So, in analyzing the game last week, we all paid attention on the fact that Newcastle has a very formidable, very matured midfield, and they also have good attacking lineups that are good in scoring. They score as well. But I saw the game. Sometimes I don't know if Newcastle, if they're this kind of team that will build castle on the air, like they will build too much. I see them as old Arsenal. They are always they are promising. You always believe that they're gonna do something, but when it gets to that point, they're checking out. That was what happened against them with Liverpool. I even almost went to bed believing that they won the game against Liverpool. only for the coach to make that tactical error that gave Liverpool the ability to win the game. This time around, I was shocked they didn't come to play. They chickened out. I don't know. I had faith in Newcastle as one of the teams, at least one of the teams that will make the first four. But with the way things are shaping up, I don't know if they really came to play or they just a flash, But I strongly believe that Brighton is a team that has the abilities. They are able to score goals. My concern is how good they are to defend, but scoring goal is not a problem for them.
Well, right now, Newcastle have played 4 games. They only have 3 points on the board. I think they lost 3 games. This is a team that, based on what they had to perform last season, many were thinking they could even challenge for the title this season. I remember I mentioned here that one of the problems I have with Newcastle is they seem to not have a philosophy. Today they're playing low block. Tomorrow they are expansive. It seems that the coach doesn't believe in what he's trying to do anymore. It seems like the whole halfway through the journey has lost confidence in what he's trying to do. I mentioned that in a few past shows. I don't know what do you make of Newcastle? How did they come out of this situation? Because right now it's looking very, very, very different and difficult for them. And again, considering the fact that the Champions League is going to start in the next 2 weeks, if they cannot get results playing 1 game a week, I don't know how they're going to navigate playing the Champions League on Wednesday and having to play the league again over the weekend. What do you think is the cause of this problem they're having, not being able to win games, and how do they come out of it?
Okay, yeah, the EPL is such a league that when you have the surprise element, milk it, use it as much as possible. That's one of the things that Arsenal lost last season by not using that surprise element to at least see whether they could win the league. Now the surprise element isn't there anymore because teams are going to prepare for you. They know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and they're going to try to take advantage of those things. And so Newcastle surprised everyone last year with the players that they had. They didn't have it wasn't like they had major superstars, but their players stepped up and they had a unit that was very physical, and they were very strong back four with a very strong goalkeeper, and they were able to concede probably the least number of goals, if not close to that, in the division. They've lost all that invincibility now. Teams prepare better for them, and they hit the nail on the head. The coach, when he was the coach of Bournemouth, was known for real, like almost like total football, expansive, possession-based football. I thought that by now he would have imbibed that philosophy at Newcastle, but it's not there. They're not playing possession-based football. They're not really even playing counter-attacking football. Like you said, it's neither here or there. Every weekend you get something different depending on the opponents that they are facing. And on any given day, of course, they can match any side, but there's no clear strategy as to what they are doing. And then I think that with the kind of money they have, maybe FFP or whatever they call it is finally really working. Otherwise, they don't quite have the players, all the players that they need to push forward, to dominate, and to be sure of making the top 4 in the EPL every year. You need some solid players to be able to do that. They bought this guy from Italy, good player, started really well, but again, we know the history of Italians in the EPL is not smooth sailing. You got to give the guy a chance to really get accustomed to the league because it's a much faster, much more physical league. Since the league started, that guy what's his name again? Hasn't really done much.
Yeah, the first game he has shown, but after that first game, I don't think he has
after
really
that
done
first
much.
game, yeah. So Yeah, Newcastle, if they are not careful, Eddie Howe might be sacked because the profile that the team has right now, the next thing would be to get a coach that can really forge an identity for the club, and then they can push forward. Or Howe can redeem his image by really sitting down and
Defining.
discovering exactly what the club needs to move forward because he's under consideration to be the next England national team coach.
Okay, yeah, Nicholas, let me touch there right quick before we move to the next game. Ugum touched on it right there. I was going to ask you that question. You keep talking about FFP. Newcastle is just like Chelsea. They were newly taken over by the Arab investors. So, however, Chelsea is doing it and finding space to spend big, I think Newcastle also should have that opening somewhere. Before now, people are hailing them for being strict, not spending stupid money, and still being competitive in the league as they were last season. But now it's looking like it's not working. Do you think, for me, I believe Newcastle has to find a way, like we mentioned, sign two top, established players, either in EPA or in Europe, to move because they have a bunch of decent players. Bruno Guimaraes, these players are good, but you need those X factor players, one or two of them in that team, to really drive the team. Because sometimes these players, this kind of players I'm talking about, with their aura and their influence, they frighten teams, they frighten defenses. Even officials sometimes give some big names consideration in their decisions in the game. So I think Newcastle, I don't know if you agree with me, Newcastle needs to go out and find a way, find the money, and however they're going to structure it to get a couple of big names into that team to drive them to where they need to be. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to be able to navigate this where they want to be. I don't know if you agree with me, or what's your thought, or is there any names you would suggest to them to try to get?
For Newcastle, from what I've seen, I don't know how long they've had their new investors. Is it coming up 2 years now, year and a half?
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing, it's looking like it's a long-term strategy. It's not, and nowadays with the FFP, Paris Saint-Germain, they were a team that were under the FFP. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, those are big spenders when they do have the money. But I feel that the FFP is really tightening the reins on them. So I think they want to do things the right way by investing in the team, probably investing in their youth system. I know you mentioned top players who they could bring in. They have a few decent players over there. Isaac, the Swedish international, he's a top striker. I remember when he was linked with Arsenal, everybody wanted him because he would have given us, especially the team we have now, if we could get a player like Isaac, he would definitely give us a different type of striker as opposed to a Jesus, which is he's a more false nine, drop in the midfield, create
Yeah,
spaces.
but sorry to cut you, but the problem right there is that Isaac is not a scorer. He's a very good technician. Even before when he was linked to Arsenal, if you remember, of course, Arsenal fans know how to go investigate and research on a player. There were so many when these numbers we are brought up. He's not a scorer. He doesn't score a lot of goals, but he's a player that gets you in the game, plays. He's technically sound. So probably that's what Newcastle is missing. They need that striker for me that will put the ball in the net, just like Chelsea is struggling right now as well. So I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. For me, they have decent players, good players that on their day they can make play, but those S factor players, at least one for me, we do
At
Newcastle.
least one. I mean, they probably wouldn't invest in him because they've already put the money towards Isaac. But I know his name has been linked a lot of times around Europe. I'm surprised he didn't move this summer. But if he continuous scores this season, he'll definitely get a move. Is Victor Osimhen.
Osimhen, yeah.
Victor Osimhen is a proper striker. He has everything. And I don't know, maybe the ratings is not there for Osimhen for some reason, but he would definitely change a team like Newcastle if he was to go to Newcastle. I think what Newcastle has, I think their manager is possibly he's as good as it gets right now. I think they probably, if they really want to move forward, they probably have to replace that manager. I don't think he's a terrible manager. He's a decent English manager, but you need that manager who's going to take you over there. For example, our former manager Emery. Emery is a great. Now, let me not use the term great. Emery is a decent European manager. He'll definitely change teams, and you can even see it with Aston Villa now. Aston Villa look like they're the team that's going to take over that Newcastle spot where everybody's wondering, hey, Aston Villa might be dangerous. So back to the point, I think they probably need to switch their manager. They could bring in a few players because they have decent players. They don't have a terrible team. It's just the manager. I believe the manager. He's fresh out of ideas.
Yeah, I think so as well. So yeah, let's move to the next game before we go to Chelsea. Liverpool, like you mentioned there, surprisingly beat Aston Villa 3-0 at at home. Of course, we know Liverpool playing at home is usually a different animal. Last season they struggled in the league, but I think they only lost one game at home all season, despite the struggle they had last season. So it was always going to be a high mountain for Aston Villa to climb. But I felt that they were going to do better than that I saw in that game. Aston Villa has been very exciting to watch this season. They've scored goals. They brought in Musa Diaby and some few players. Oli Watkins has been vibrant. And they tend to sit back a little and hit teams on the counter. And they've been doing that very, very well. In that game as well, they opened up Liverpool a few times, but the final actions failed them. But Liverpool managed to score three unreplied goals in this game and won 3-0 at home. Chima, one of the things that surprised me when the lineup came off for this game was Klopp didn't name not an out defensive midfielder in this game. Recently, they signed Endo, and for me, we talked about that. We previewed this game before for the weekend. We're thinking that he was going to go. We're debating between the three of us who he was going to drop to the bench. He had Gakpo, Diaz, Nunes scored 2 goals the weekend before. Salah, of course, has his position head down, and Diego Jota. So for me, I was thinking that he was going. I said I wouldn't even mind benching Diaz, but in this game, surprisingly, he dropped Endo and played a midfield of what's this boy's name? The English guy, Curtis Jones, or McAllister played as a defensive midfielder, and Soberslai on the right side of the attack. And so I was wondering how they were going to cope with the pace that Aston Villa has, up top. But somehow Liverpool managed to. They were so hot and pacey up front that Aston Villa could hardly breathe. And before you knew it, they were 3 goals down. What did you make about the lineup and how Liverpool approached this game? You're on mute, Chima.
Chima, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm good now. Yes, I say I was saying, the last time we discussed about this scoreline and everything, and I said that to me, Liverpool is the next city in terms of maturity. When you watch Liverpool, you will see that even recently, even if they're not playing good, they find a way to win. They just find a way to win. I wasn't surprised that with the performance of Nunes in their last game against Newcastle, I wasn't surprised that the coach is gonna, start him. And I don't know. I feel comfortable with that midfield that Liverpool played. McAllister, I told you that I saw him as an established somebody who stamps his authority on the field of play. And one of Liverpool's player that people don't. I don't know if because he's new or something. This this Soboles or Soboles.
Soboslai.
That guy is a very good player. He is. I don't know. Let me not say he's been underrated or something, because he is not underrated because maybe they've not known him. But if you relax yourself and watch him play, you will see that his work rate is very high. He has a very high work rate. So am I shocked? Like when you started by saying that we were all shocked that Liverpool beats gave these guys 3-0. I was never shocked because when I saw what they did against Chelsea, they didn't breathe. But when against Newcastle, I saw what they did playing a man down. It became, rather than playing 10 men, it became 20 men against Newcastle that was 11. Everybody doubled their efforts. I see Liverpool as a team. If care is not taken, they are taking Arsenal's position because they are more matured and they take chances these days, unlike in the past where when they can get like 5 and score 2 or get 6 and score 1. But these days you notice that they almost take all their chances. They get one chance and they will take it. That is a sign of maturity, and that is a team that might not play well, but get the job done. So I wasn't surprised that they scored 3 goals against Aston Villa, that they show up.
Do you have anything to add to Liverpool before I ask you? I will talk about Aston Villa in that game.
Oh no.
Yeah, Aston Villa, just like Nicholas was saying a few months ago, and we talked about Newcastle, they're beginning to look. I think on their day, they look very excited. They look intimidating. They attack and they have flair. They score goals. But on another day, you'll be shocked at the show they will come up with. In this game, it was for me. I'm not shocked about Liverpool, like Chima mentioned. I was shocked about Aston Villa, the outcome of the game. I expected Liverpool to win the game, but not to whitewash Aston Villa the way they did. It looks like Aston Villa as well. This is coming to the season. I know it's just four games, but 4 games in EPL is not a small number for you not to get your ass together if you really want to achieve things going into the season. Aston Villa is not that well established in the league to throw away opportunity that is to stay close to the top. And they're in Europe this season as well. So if they don't get their ass together now before the European season starts, it's going to be difficult for them. What have you made about Aston Villa, and what do you think is in the issue right now as they find it difficult? They've played 4 games, they won 2 and lost 2. They have -1 goal difference on the table. It's not looking like a team that we saw last season that went up to. I think they had about 7 to 10 games winning streak. Winning about 6 or 7 and drew few last season that got them to the European positions in the table.
Yeah, I think they're a very good side with a very good coach. But again, lack of consistency is the issue, which I think with time they will build. But the problem might be playing in Europe and playing, locally. They will have a problem juggling the squad to play both competitions. I think that with time they will get more settled. Right now they are not really settled. They introduced some new people like Musa Diaby. I see him still trying to, if not for the fact that he's a top talent, he wouldn't be as effective as he is already. But he's so talented. He's already making his mark, but he just still needs to really read his teammates. Everybody will know where the other person is running to and all that. They also have a new defense. They have Sergio Roberto, who again got injured again against Liverpool. Talented centre back, but has terrible issues with muscular injuries, and he had another one that game. So Pau Torres, of course, is a top-rated centre back. So you see that they still have some units that are still building, getting to understand one another in the squad. And I think that's affecting them. So if you're a good team, you just try and hit them as early as possible before they really settle. Maybe get 1 or 2 goals, and then they face an uphill task of trying to equalize, and then you can hit them on the counter just like Liverpool did. So I think that's the best way to get Villa now before they gain that understanding that will help them be a lot more difficult to beat.
Yeah, I hear you. Chelsea 0, Nottingham Forest 1. Chima, tell us about this game.
Honestly, I didn't want to. I really don't want to wave out Chelsea, like give them a wave of hand. If you look at that game again, the problem we have is the ability to score. The ability to score. If Chelsea will allow Nicholas as the sole striker who plays every game, not just playing every game, but play 90 minutes. I understood that Nicholas came from a team where he was even third option of the attack. I so much believe in our coach, Poch, but my concern is he not seeing what I'm saying? Myself that is outside, I am seeing something. Is he not seeing it? Chelsea had a lot of scoring options, a lot of scoring chances to win that game, or even just to win the game. We started good, irrespective of what people say. Forget about the match tension and everything. If you go back and look at that match again, you see that Chelsea controlled the game. They had the abilities to win this game. But if you don't convert your own chances, other people convert theirs. And this is EPL. At any given day, any team can beat any team. At any given day. If you don't take your chance, people will take theirs. And once they take theirs, you will start struggling. And when you start struggling, anything can happen. So I still maintain that I don't want to say I'm pissed, as a Chelsea fan, but I don't know what is happening. I hope the coach can do something. I hope, the coming in of Palmer and everything, they can rearrange that attack. Nicholas shouldn't be our top 9. I said it here before, and I'm saying it again, that it's difficult for a coach to rely on a player who is not a Premiership material from the start, as either his reliable defender or his reliable attacker. I always believe that when you introduce young players in Premiership, they should come in as substitutes as season progresses. Then in the course of coming in as substitute, they will now acclimatize with the team. But when you now establish them as your only option, there's a problem.
Yeah, I hear you. Nicholas, let me touch base with you. Chelsea has spent £1 billion in the last close to 2 seasons now. And Chima right there, Chelsea fan, like every other person that watches EPL has seen, and they have not signed a world-class striker. The one that they have that is close to that, Lukaku, cannot play for Chelsea. They don't want him. He doesn't want Chelsea. And he has gone to Roma. And they will probably lose him next summer or in the January transfer window for not more than 38 million. When I was making my notes for this about this game, what I wrote there, it seems that nothing new has happened to Chelsea. Same old problem. What's your take? Looking inside Chelsea from outside, what do you see and what do you think is going on? What do you think is the problem and what do they need to do?
Good question. What's going on with Chelsea? I think since the former Russian owner Abramovich had to sell, I think that's when the problems arose. They had a lot of sanctions that they had to fight through for a season, and not a season, but I think probably about half a season they had to fight through, and they got past that. I think what's going on with them is more so a transition, but I've never seen in football where it's like a whole selling of players and bringing in a whole bunch of new players. I've never seen that in football before. You have teams where they go through a transition and you may sell a few players here and there, and within a season or 2, maybe 3, if a manager has been able to put his team together, you can see, for example, Arteta, you can see this is essentially Arteta's team now. But it took Arteta a while to get players in, get some out. Chelsea, they are all over the place when it comes to their business. They are doing players on 6-year, 8-year contracts to circumvent the FFP rules, which is something on its own there. Clearly, a lot of these players are just there for the check. Because they know they'll be paid good money. Lavia, what's the other guy? Caicedo. They're on Liverpool's radar, and then within the drop of a hat, they signed for Chelsea. I think what's going on is they just have a lot of transition they're going through, and it's hard to do that with a team when because you don't have no established player where people like, okay, this guy's been here for years. He's an established player. This is the leader of the group here. There is essentially no lead. I mean, you have a few. You have Reece James and a few other people. Sterling, he's been in the Premier League for a good couple of years, but Chelsea is all over the place when it comes to their business. And I think that's what's showing on the field at this time. I think they'll come good because they definitely picked up some talent, but it goes to show you money can't solve all your problems. Sometimes you need a good cohesion to keep the boat afloat, and it's showing that the money is actually creating more problems for them. But we shall see. I know they come up on our schedule. I think October sometime we should play them. I think we go to Stamford Bridge, so we shall see how the things pan out for them. I don't think they'll make Europe this year, or if they do, they'll probably make Conference League or something. But they have a lot to go. They have a lot to do. A lot to do when it comes to their business.
Yeah, Ugum, let me touch base with you right quick so we can end this one. Chelsea, for me, I know I've said it on this show. Pochettino got it wrong from the onset. You don't go into a club and start to sign, like Nicholas mentioned, bunch of players without even starting a job. He hadn't even resumed, and he was starting signing of players. For me, I believe a new coach should come into a team, have sessions with, and luckily for him, he came in before the beginning of the transfer window, so he had time to look at the players that he had and know what qualities were lacking in the team and what to bring in. But even before he started working with the players, Chelsea were still signing players. The players that he has sanctioned the team to sell, if he did that, he hadn't even worked with them to know exactly what they have to offer. And he sanctioned this play. If I make you Pochettino now, you have made this mistake. What do you think he needs to do to remedy the situation in Chelsea? Like everybody has seen, sometimes they can play good football. They seem to know what they're doing. But the key issue still remains that Chelsea cannot put the ball at the back of the net. And it looks like this problem has been there for a little bit now. It's not just about having Nicholas as their top striker. It's the way it's looking now, it's looking like if you still bring a top striker, a world-class striker to Chelsea today, it's possible he's not going to score goals. Because sometimes it's okay to say, it's easy to say you have chances, you're not scoring them. But what is the quality of the chances? Those chances, how did they come across to you? There's some chances that are put on a play for a player, and there are some you stumble into. So what's your take? What does the Pochettino need to do to remedy the situation in Chelsea right now and get a team flying?
I listened to a few commentaries about the game from a few Chelsea fans. One person was of the opinion that Poch just needs to play the players in their right roles. It feels like somebody like Chilwell is supposed to be at left back and not at left wing. Someone like the Caicedo is playing a bit more advanced role than he normally should play. Than all that. But I didn't watch the game 100% to be able to tell exactly what happened. But I know that I've asked the question whether Poch was part of the party or part of the deliberations over who Chelsea was going to sign. Right? I still have my doubts because knowing Poch's pedigree, knowing how sensible the guy is, I would have felt that he would have at least asked the club to buy a forward that will help score goals. But then, I've learned from my little experience watching the game that when a team is struggling for goals, the best way to remedy it is to make it possible or make it likely that several people can get opportunities to score during the game. If a team is hanging on one player, the so-called forward or striker, to score goals, and the team is lacking in goals, then you're putting that striker under the greatest pressure. Yeah. So Chelsea have the tools. I think they just need to Poch will need to maybe introduce some drills in training that will make it possible for the likes of Sterling, the likes of Jackson, the likes of Enzo, the likes of Madueke. Let these guys get into that 18-yard box as many times as possible during the game. You are likely to get 1 or 2 goals from any of them because they didn't become poor footballers overnight. These guys all can really play the game. But the thing is, where does their positioning, does it allow them get into the 18-yard box? Does it allow them create chances? Right? How do you do your transitions? Do you go to the wings and pull back, or do you build from the middle? But create opportunities for players to put the ball in the net. But all of them have good shots. They can also take shots from outside the 18-yard box. I think that, for example, I'll use somebody like Declan Rice as an example. Declan Rice last season was able to get into the 18-yard box once or twice, but I think that there's a deliberate plan by Mikel Arteta to make sure that Declan Rice gets into the 18-yard box as many times as possible. When he does that and does that and does that, he takes shots. And they interviewed him after the Arsenal game, and he said, "If you don't shoot, you will not score." Right? He could have passed the ball that he was able to score the other day, but he decided to shoot. So that's the thing. When you create that mentality within the team, get closer to the 18-yard box, take shots. I'm sure that with time, once it starts coming, it can come from anybody. It's just that mental block and perhaps the drills that are being used by the coach that's preventing them from scoring like they should.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I agree with you on that. I remember a couple of seasons ago when the guy was signed to Arsenal, he was guilty of almost trying to pass even inside the 6-yard box. And I said talking about that and telling him that he needs to be encouraged to take more shots. And last season he scored 15 goals. This season we see, like you see, the Rice is shooting. Saka has even developed that attribute as well, scoring some goals recently from outside the box. So I think Poch needs to develop another strategy and find a way. I know he's trying to play exciting football, which is necessary. But again, if you don't pick up the points, it's going to be very difficult for you to navigate through the process. He looks, for me, just like Potter before he got fired. Poch looks to me like somebody that is relaxed and doesn't really feel the pressure. I think he needs to, and sometimes your players feed off their manager's body language. He needs to, put some level of sense of urgency in the players and in the player and the way he manages the players, and let them understand the magnitude of the task at hand. Because no matter how many years he has been given to develop the team, spending 1 billion on its own comes with a lot of pressure. People are going to be talking about it every day, every week. So Chelsea, to the bare minimum, has to get into Europe this season, at least the Europa. So if they continue like this, I doubt if that goal will be achieved.